Good morning, class. Here's notes 43. I'm going to go through it. It's almost exactly the same as notes 42, and we're going to factor it the same way. We just have one more step at the end because we're actually looking to solve these. So if we look, it says, oh, I have the wrong word here. This is supposed to be solve for these. So we're going to go ahead and solve this problem. So just like any other trinomial that you see that looks like this with a number out in front of the x squared in three terms, you're going to use the x method. So, and in the x method, you take the first term times the last term and you put it up here. And this happens to be negative 72. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our middle term and we're going to put it right down here on the bottom. And now we need to go ahead and find the factors that multiply to negative 72 but add to negative 14. So again, you're going to want to use your factor chart. So you go through, you look at the factors of 72 and you have negative 18 and 4. So I already put the negative out front of there. And the reason I did that is because when I looked at 18 and 4, I saw that 18 is the bigger number, and the bigger number always has to match the sign on the bottom number. So that's why I did it this way, and then you have that. So what we're going to have is we're going to go ahead and drop this into our parentheses. And if you remember from the last section, this always goes in front without the squared. So we have 3x and 3x. And then you drop your factors in behind those. So negative 18 and positive 4. Now we need to look and see if there's anything that we can divide both numbers inside the parentheses by. So if I look here, I always try to check the first number, and it so happens that 3 and 18 can both be divided by 3. So I'll do that. Divided by 3, divided by 3. Now if I look over here, 3 and 4, you can't divide either of those evenly by anything. So you're going to keep those. All right. So this becomes x minus 6 times 3x plus 4. And these both equal 0. So now, if you remember from solving those other ones, what you do is you split these up into two separate problems and set them both equal to 0. Because if one of these two parentheses is equal to 0, then the whole problem is equal to 0. So if we do some algebra, I'm running out of room, but we'll make it work. I'm going to do plus 6 because I add the opposite, and I get x equals 6. And then over here, it's an extra step, but I'm going to subtract 4, and I get 3x equals negative 4, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And I will get x equals negative 4 over 3. Now remember, my math lab wants you to have those, not in a parenthesis, but your answers separated by commas. So you'll have 6 and negative 4/3. And that's your answer. All right. So we'll do the next one. And then I'll give you guys some hints on some of the homework to do. And we'll go from there. All right. So again, to get that top number, you're going to multiply the first times the last term, and you're going to get negative 210. Bottom is negative 29. You'll notice that 210 isn't on your factor chart. So if it's not on your factor chart, Google the factors in the number. All right, and that'll be an easier way to do it instead of trying to rack your brain about, finding all the pairs. If you want to do it that way and you want to look and do it by hand, by all means, go for it. But you have permission to use Google for this. All right, so my factors for this are going to be negative 35 and 6. Because I got to be honest, I Googled them because I didn't know the factors of 210 that added to negative 29 either. Okay, again, just to hammer home this point, if this is negative, the bigger factor needs to be negative. All right, so then we're going to have my parentheses. And I've got 5x here at the beginning. And that is because 5x is right here. And then I drop in my factors, minus 35 plus 6. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both of these in the first parenthesis by 5 because they're both divisible by 5. And I get x minus 7 and 5x plus 6. Oh, this equals 0, so does this. All right, notice I didn't divide this one because you can't divide both of these by the same thing. And our last step is to set each equal to 0 and solve. All right, so I'm going to add 7. And I get x equals 7. And over here, I'm going to subtract 6. 5x equals negative 6. And divide both by 5. X equals negative 6 over 5, which means my answer is 7 comma negative 6 over 5. So those are your two answers. Now, there is MyMathLab unfortunately gives a problem that if you see a 4 or or a number that isn't 2 or an odd number in front, get a similar question. So if you see a 4 or higher even number, get a new question. Because those are done a little bit differently. So we're not going to be doing those. All right. So do your work. If you have any questions, please let me know. And good luck.